It's time to be real and admit that Zion Williamson is not that guy, and this is not just me overreacting to the first couple games of the year. If we want to talk about the first couple games of the year, through 4 games, Zion has been blocked 14 times. Through 4 games, he also has 15 turnovers and is shooting just 36% from the field. Now, we all know that won't continue, but it's extremely disappointing for someone who told us he was coming back with vengeance this year. Now, some people will give him the excuse of being sick to start the year, and none of us actually know how sick he is, but I will say he looks fine out there. He doesn't look winded. He looks in shape. He just looks the same. And as we get into year 6 of you doing the exact same things, it becomes less and less effective. And Zion has been kind of flying under the radar because everyone's talking about Brandon Ingram all summer, DeJounte Murray. Are they going to trade CJ? People even talk about Willie Green before they get to Zion. But no one's asking the real question the Pelicans have to figure out the answer to, which is Zion the guy we want to build around? And right now, I don't know how you could possibly say yes. Everyone says point Zion, get BI out the way, just let point Zion run the team. And I'm just not seeing how you watch him and feel like that's a sustainable thing. Can he do it for quarters at a time or even a week at a time? For sure. But building your entire team around him, to me, doesn't seem like the easiest thing on the court or off the court. And whether that's talking about his injuries, his kind of aloofness off the court, or the fact that we're in year 6 and he hasn't added a single thing to his game, still doesn't even have a right hand really. And David Griffin pretty much told us last year that Zion is unprofessional. He didn't say it in those words, but what he said going into last year, right, not this year, was this was the first offseason Zion took seriously. That's kind of alarming, though, that the general manager of the team said last year was the first summer we've seen Zion really take his profession seriously as far as taking care of his body and things of that nature.
And invested in their profession, and this was the first summer where we've seen Zion really take his profession seriously like that.
And even with that being said, last year they still kind of slow rolled him to start the year. They still tried to build up his stamina, progress him all the way through the year. And then we finally get to the end of the year in that play-in game where we ask Zion to rev it up all the way to 100 and he gets hurt. That's alarming, no? It's also alarming that it feels like Zion is trending down, but again, I feel like that's more of people just figuring him out. But last year was a career low in true shooting, a career low in 2-point percentage, a career low in free throw rate, a career low in total rebound percentage. I don't know if people still care about PER, but it was a career low in that for Zion. He only got 5 boards a game last year. Last year was a completely down year for Zion, but we remember the end of it before he got hurt. But I also think we need to realize that the injuries aren't necessarily a coincidence. Now, some of them might be, some you might be able to attribute to the weight problems, whatever the case may be. But it's also the way he plays. If you're 6'6", don't shoot any jumpers, and the only way you score is jumping over and around 7-footers and getting your own offensive boards, and you don't have any easy buckets you can generate. Now, some of that you might want to put on Willie Green, but it's also the way Zion prefers to play. Zion doesn't like playing off ball. And if you're going to play this way consistently and not be in peak shape, you're probably going to get hurt. So to me, there are 2 sides of it, right? If you believe Zion should play this way, if you believe that he should have the ball at the top of the key like a prime Derrick Rose, right? And Zion in a lot of ways does remind me of a Derrick Rose. We could talk about that at a later date. But if you believe that, then you would have to agree that Zion hasn't shown the, I don't want to say stamina, but just the ability to stay healthy and be able to do that on a night-to-night basis. I don't think he's shown that, right? So if you believe that, you don't have any evidence proving he can do that on a consistent basis. And if you're like me, who believes that Zion should adapt his game, Zion should take more jumpers, Zion should be able to be a better screener and roll and get easier buckets, Zion should have a little floater off the short roll, he should have more of a right hand by now. And I kind of just conflated the 2 issues, right? But if you want him to have the ball all the time, well, he's gonna have to get a pull-up midi. He's gonna have to get a right hand. He's gonna have to be able to hit a floater. And if you want him to be more of a, I don't want to say team oriented because that makes Zion seem like a selfish dude, which I'm not saying he is or isn't. I don't know. It's hard to really tell with Zion. But if he's gonna be more a part of a cohesive team unit, well, then he has to do the other things I'm talking about. The catch and shoot jumpers, the passing on the short roll with the floater on the short roll, the setting a screen. But it's like, okay, Zion, I get that's not what you want to do. I feel like Zion could be a mix of these three players, these three athletic freaks, right? Derrick Rose, I mentioned, when you talk about the top of the key, the snake in the dribble, jump stop floater, jump stop dunk, Zion should have that on lock. Then I think of Dwight Howard, where Zion could be. He doesn't want to be this, but he could be that type of roller. If he actually committed to setting hard body screens and rolling, even off the ball, right? He would get 8 to 10 easy buckets that way, but he doesn't want to set screens, right? And then the other one is Blake Griffin, who we've seen on the block, make quick decisions, turn at the rim, easy, dunk. We've seen Blake flourish as a passer. We've seen Blake run pick and rolls with bigs. As the ball handler, we've seen Blake develop the mid-range jumper when it became known that he just wanted to get to the rim, something we still haven't seen from Zion. So those three players, that sounds a lot easier said than done for sure. But I know you guys see it. When Zion has the ball at the top of the key and he eats up the space and gets to the rim, he looks like Derrick Rose a little bit. When he gets the board and runs, he looks like Blake Griffin a little bit. The Dwight Howard part is a part he's never truly embraced, that I think is the most important part that will take his game to a different level as far as just making it a lot more easy for him. But he's never gonna embrace that. But instead, he wants to play like Carmelo Anthony without a jumper or without the footwork or without the ability to draw fouls. Like, he gets fouls because he's Zion, but wouldn't you think he'd be better at creating fouls by now? Can you guys even envision a Zion pump fake in your head? I'm sure he does it all the time, but I can't even picture a Zion pump fake right now. We should see that every game. Zion pump fake, draws guy in the air, foul. We don't ever see that. He just does one thing. The whole league knows it's coming, and it's becoming more and more predictable, which means it's going to become more and more easy to stop. Refs aren't going to reward him with fouls even if he does get fouled, because it's like, what are you doing? Just play basketball. And with all that being said, we still know how talented Zion is. Zion could be an all-star this year. He could have one of his most efficient years. And I feel like everything I'm saying would still stand. He's still going to have to grow as a player, because this is not going to work. And even when he does get his numbers, when he's doing his little post-up thing, he kills the flow of the game. His teammates aren't involved in the game. And as a fan, it is not fun to watch. Even when it's working for him, it is not fun to watch. So that's a little bit why I'm making this video. I'm not having fun as a Pelicans fan, but I felt this way for some time, and we've always had reasons to give Zion for whatever, right? It's always been Brandon Ingram. It's always been Willie Green. It's always been the general manager or front office. And all those things can be true. Brandon Ingram can be a bad fit with Zion, and Willie Green can be a bad coach. But all that doesn't excuse Zion for not improving in 6 years. And the whole Brandon Ingram situation, what we're seeing right now, kind of gives credence to the idea of maybe we shouldn't trade Brandon Ingram for someone that's going to fit around Zion when we don't even know if we want to build around Zion. And I could understand that point if we didn't have a mountain of evidence of these two guys together. So even if you're trying to build around Zion or trying to get a look at Zion, having him next to BI is not the way, and having BI next to Zion is not the way to get a real evaluation on which one you might want to keep. And I don't think there's any world where the Pelicans believe we got Brandon Ingram, we got our franchise guy, we're going to build around him. But maybe they do feel like having Brandon Ingram is easier to build around whoever that next guy might be, whoever we might go trade for, or whoever we might draft is better fit with Brandon Ingram than Zion Williamson. I've always thought that if they traded Zion, they're also going to trade BI and just completely blow it up, and that still might be the case. Knowing this team, they're not going to trade either and just going to ride it out, and Brandon Ingram's going to leave for nothing free agency. That's probably what's going to happen. But the more and more I think about it, maybe that's why they didn't trade BI, because there's a real chance they're going to trade Zion. Now, no one would have predicted this start from Zion, and again, he's going to play better. He's Zion Williamson, but maybe that's in the cards. And you know what else is kind of disappointing about Zion? Zion is a finesse player in a lot of ways, and that's fine, but it's a different level of gravity. Not saying Zion doesn't have gravity, he for sure has gravity, right? But it's different when someone's coming down the lane and bodying people. How many posters have we seen Zion really have? They are few and far between. Zion goes around players when we thought he would be going through and over players. I know it sounds crazy because we see how physically imposing he can be, But watch him. Zion is going away from the contact almost every single time he goes to the rim. And it's a big difference between being 6'6" and being 6'9", like a Blake Griffin, where you can go over people more consistently. But again, we thought Zion was going to be giving us highlight dunks every single night, and they are actually few and far between. So even if you still truly do believe Zion is a franchise player, you know, going to be competing for a top 10 player in the NBA, if you truly believe that, even if you do, it's not the player you were expecting, right? There's no way you thought Zion was going to be drafted and be the layup finesse king. There's no way you thought Zion was going to be drafted and not be able to set a proper screen. There's no way you thought he would be in year 6 and not have a right hand. And he's that talented that he can actually do it and still be all-star, still be all-NBA. I'm just not sure, one, if his body can hold up playing the way he wants to play. Two, I'm not sure that's the best way to optimize him and or his teammates in any situation. And three, Zion just doesn't seem like a guy you would want to build around on the court. As far as staying healthy, as far as the way he plays, doesn't seem like that's the way you would want to build your team. And I don't want to go too hard because we don't know Zion at all. We just know the clips, the sound bites he gives us. All the sound bites seem extremely forced. Seems like a child prodigy soundbite, right? Just quarterback talk. Doesn't seem real at all, right? And I'm not saying he owes us to open up and give us his life, but when Zion talks, it seems very fake. Am I wrong? Like, let me know. But also David Griffin saying last year was the first year he took seriously. It doesn't seem like Zion is much of a leader. Doesn't seem like he's a guy that rallies the troops. And a lot of that is unfair to ask, but that's what you ask of face of your franchise. And in year 6, I feel comfortable saying Zion is not that guy. That doesn't mean he's not an amazing player. Doesn't mean he can't be a winning player. Doesn't mean the Pelicans can't trade him and regret doing it. But being the face of your franchise, leader of your team, most reliable every night, you know what you're getting. Zion's not that guy in my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'm out. Peace.